My name is Chidozie. I want to use this opportunity to thank everyone for being here. It's an honor to have everyone who's in attendance today. In the next 1 hour, we'll be talking about Enterprise Transformation Digital Series, which is going to be a continuous session. And for the subject that we'll be looking at optimizing enterprise performance, leveraging on MIS and business intelligence. So, but before then, what I would just want to talk about what this webinar series is going to be about. It's going to be a continuous one. It's a new platform where we'll be sharing valuable insights and knowledge from industry experts and thought leaders on how to successfully integrate strategy and technology for the enterprise and to drive innovation and growth within an organization. The topics will include, but not limited to, enterprise transformation, innovation ideation, cloud computing, artificial intelligence, data analytics, with case studies for practical solutions, and also best practices that will help this organization optimize their operations, improve customer experiences. This series also provides practical tools and techniques for staying ahead in the digital landscape. So I want to welcome everyone to this maiden edition of the FinTrak Enterprise Digital Transformation Series. And our topic today again is optimizing enterprise performance with advanced management information systems and business intelligence. My name is Chidozie Ofebu, Head of Digital Business and Strategy at FinTrak Software, and I'll be your moderator for today's session. So before we go into it, I'd like to introduce you to our fantastic panel of speakers joining us. And so starting with Bimbo Abioye. Bimbo Abioye is an accomplished professional with a diverse experience in finance, technology, and enterprise solution. His background as a CEO and a group managing director of FinTrak Software has led to over 200 enterprise solution deployments in various business segments in Africa. FinTrak is certified to 4 global ISO standards and non-ISO standards. He has the ability to bridge technology and finance, and also instrumental in driving digital transformation and excellence in various organizations in Africa. He's dedicated to delivering innovative solutions, helping business leverage on technology and enhance performance, achieve strategic objectives. He has successfully positioned FinTrak Software as a global partner in delivering cutting-edge enterprise solutions tailored to unique organizations, particularly in the financial sector in Africa. So I want us to welcome Bimbo Abioye. The next one of our speakers is also a very interesting personality. Morning. Okay, thank you, Bimbo Abioye. So one of the next speaker will be Victor Onyebuchi. Victor Onyebuchi is a dynamic and visionary executive with over two decades of extensive experience in the financial services industry. Victor brings a wealth of knowledge and expertise in strategy planning, business process management, performance management, business intelligence, and will also be financial reporting. He currently serves as the head of group strategy and performance management for UBA Group. Victor holds a leadership role in other responsibility as a group, who is directing group as a group-wide strategic planning, management, and implementation activities. He plays a pivotal role in driving enterprise performance management, revenue assurance, business data analytics, budget planning, and execution for UBA Group. We're honored to have Victor as a speaker here at this webinar, and we hope to share his insights and practical strategies for leveraging MIS and business intelligence to optimize performance. So, Victor, can you say hi to the audience?
Good afternoon, everybody. It's nice to have you. It's nice to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Victor. Next on our list is Wale Olayele, Head of Financial Reporting and Performance Management. Olayele. Sorry, Olaleye.
You'll be fine, Joe. Olaleye.
Okay, Olaleye. Thank you. I don't know why I have it here. Okay, so Wale is the Head of Financial Reporting and Performance Management for Access Bank, Nigeria. And is a highly accomplished chartered accountant with a strong background in finance, performance management, and proven track record in delivering exceptional results and driving organizational growth. Wale brings a lot of wealth of experience to the topic that we are discussing. Wale expertise extends beyond traditional financial management. He's actively participated in implementing several transformation initiatives, including the automation of performance management, budget systems through web-based platform and accessible anywhere in the world. Also, one of the things projects has actually been the merger between the two major banks in Nigeria was one of the things I also championed, as a head of that position. He has comprehensive knowledge and hands-on in finance, performance management, driving transformation initiative. So which makes Wale a very valuable speaker for this webinar. And he's well equipped to share practical strategies and insights in leveraging MIS, BI tools to optimize performance management. So Wale, please, can you say hi to our audience today? Thank you.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for having me. Thank you.
Next is Rachel. Rachel is a leader of enterprise transformation in one of the major financial institutions in Nigeria. Rachel Adesina is the Chief Information Officer for one of the largest banks in Nigeria. She's a seasoned IT professional with more than 2 decades of varied industry experience. Her core competencies include designing, developing, and delivering technology solutions, strategy, business transformation, IT governance, and project management. Her experience spans multiple sectors and successfully architected and delivered technology solutions to complex business problems, which include information management systems. As the CIO of one of the largest banks in Nigeria, she owned and is responsible for the information management framework in the bank. This makes her one of the best resource persons to help us understand the value of business intelligence in the context of performance management for a major enterprise. Rachel, please, thank you for joining us, and we'd like you to acknowledge you to the audience.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a privilege and an honor. Good morning, everyone. Or good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you, Rachel. And the last but not the least speaker is Debo Akintola. Debo is a seasoned data engineer. He's the head of MIS and performance management solutions at FinTrak Software. His extensive experience and expertise in digital transformation, Debo has implemented various performance management solutions across more than 60 banks in Africa. He is a leading FinTrak, which is a leading provider of performance management solutions in the continent. His proficiency in implementing advanced MIS business intelligence solutions has enabled the organization to optimize the enterprise performance and help businesses make better informed decisions. Debo's wealth of knowledge in performance management methodologies and his ability to tailor solutions to meet specific needs in the financial institutions make him a sought-after expert in this field. With a track record of successful projects and deep understanding of the challenges faced by organizations, Debo is well equipped to also share his knowledge in implementing MIS and business solutions in financial institutions. So now that we're done with that introduction, we would like to invite our, please, before we proceed, please let Debo, can you acknowledge to the audience? Thank you. Apologies.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. It's good to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Debo. So I'd like to invite our speakers. So let's just go straight into the topic. So the structure of this session will be, we would have a 40 to 45 minutes discussions. Then we'll now use the remainder 15 minutes to take questions from the audience in the Q&A session. And we're looking forward to a learning experience for everyone. So thank you. Now, to kick off the question, this concept of MIS and BI is something that maybe some of our viewers, our audience might not be able to, grasp it. So I would like to help the audience understand these basic terms and an overview of the topic. So to maybe bring our audience up to speed on what we are talking about. So I would like Victor to do all the honors and quickly explain what MIS and BI and how can organizations effectively leverage on these tools in the context of the enterprise performance management. So Victor, please, thank you.
Okay, Chido's here. Thank you so very much. I hope everybody can hear me very well.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so very much. So I will try as much as possible not to be technical, as the case might be. So I will speak from my understanding of what MIS represents and what business intelligence also represents, and how an organization can leverage both to be able to transform strategy into action. First of all, for me, MIS naturally stands for Management Information System. And for me, it encompasses a whole lot of things.
Please, Victor, go on.
For me, MIS stands for Management Information System, and it encompasses all what I call the processes, the practices, the policies, the procedures, and protocols that an organization can utilize to transform its data. Whether that data is financial or non-financial truly does not matter. The ability to translate that data into meaningful information that can be dimensioned in multitude of ways to support ongoing business engagement and decision support activities. Critical here is business engagement and decision support activities, which is aimed at ensuring that at the end of the day, the goals, the aspirations, and the strategic aspiration of objectives of the organization is met. Business intelligence, on the other hand, represents the capabilities or the tools that will enable the organization to translate that data or the information in a manner that you can use it to make decisions. You can use it to take actions that are informed and are guided. And you are able to implement initiatives, executable initiatives that support the realization of any goal or aspiration you set for yourself, both in the short term, in the medium term, and in the long term. But of a critical note here is the fact that without a working MIS infrastructure in an atypical organization, business intelligence will struggle. And if you do not have a robust business intelligence capabilities, even when you have state-of-the-art MIS infrastructure, you can sub-optimize it. It will be like a Rolls Royce with a driver that doesn't know how to drive even a keke. So you are going to struggle. Therefore, as an organization, you need both a working and adaptive MIS infrastructure and a functional BI capabilities in order to create value for the organization. Creating value from the data sets that you have in such a manner that those who have invested their monies, who have invested their time, who have invested their talent and treasures in the organization, at the end of the day, will have full benefits for that investment. So when you have a BI that works, when you have a BI that sits on an MIS infrastructure that works, you are able to extract insights from your financial and non-financial data. It is those insights that you are able to extract that helps you give life to your strategy, that helps you drive the positioning for your organization, that helps you make sure that the outlook you present for the organization in the marketplace is such that delivers your strategic objectives and your strategic aspirations. So any organization that wants to succeed must have both an MIS infrastructure that works and BI capabilities in order to excel. Thank you.
Really great. Thank you for those answers. So it's not just the concept of it, but it is how the criticality of it to an organization is it's one of the things that you highlight. Thank you, Victor. Now, to touch on what Victor has said, Wale, I would like us, can you help us understand? I know Victor has touched around some of all these things, but in terms of using MIS in itself, now let's be focused on MIS. to streamline this data collection, to process this data, and how it's able for us to support the reporting process. How is this done from your point of view? How can we utilize this MIS to streamline data, collect, process, and make it available for reporting? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chidozie. And Victor has touched on some very important things, data, very, very important, which is the foundation or the rudiments of the entire MIS and BI process or procedures or technology, as the case may be. In terms of how you can utilize MIS solution to streamline data collection, one way by which you can do that, because MIS itself, right, basically involves, collecting, processing, and reporting data in several ways. One way by which you can do that is to have a system of automated data collection. Remember, Victor mentioned financial and non-financial. You could also have the structured and unstructured data. So how do you collect this data? One critical way is by using an automated data collection system. That reduces the human intervention. You could do this through implementing machine learning. So at interval, you could train a machine at intervals, collect this data, collect that data. Of course, you have defined your KPIs, but before you start data collection, you have to define the KPIs that you want to measure. So whether you are talking about sales, whether you're talking about energy consumption, anything that you want to do, after defining your KPIs, you collect your data. And that automated data collection I've just mentioned is one very, very good way by which you can do that. And I guess technology experts will understand what I'm talking about. Another area by which you can, of course, use MIS solution to streamline data collection is having a centralized data management systems. I'm sure a lot of organizations have things around the data warehouse, data lakes, and what have you. And what this basically does is having a central location within the organization, right, where you store data from different sources. So you have different systems all over. You have big organizations having different systems generating different data, right? So what that does basically is, it helps, MIS solution helps organization in, collecting data they have identified based on the KPIs you have defined from multiple sources, right? And puts them in the central repository, right? And that ensures consistency, reduces duplication of errors, it allows completeness of data within the organization, right? Another way by which you can, of course, use that automated advanced MI solutions, even in the area of data cleansing and validation, right? Because one thing is for you to bring data, another thing is for you to ensure that whatever data you have brought into that central repository, right, is accurate and has a high integrity. Data MI solutions will also help, in ensuring that you can identify, right, and correct errors, eliminate inconsistencies and missing values, as the case may be. I think I will just stop here for now while allow other discussants to jump in. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Wale. Yeah, you made a very critical point about integrity of data. By MIS, MIS helps you provide a framework to ensure that this data that you are streamlining, the integrity is not questionable, because so that we don't have garbage in and garbage out. Now, to that point, now we know that when you have streamlined this data as part of the performance management process, you streamline this data, you collect this data, you clean this data, which you have touched on using MIS and using an MIS framework. The most natural thing will be to render this data into. I think you also talked about KPIs. How do I transform this data into KPIs? How do I make sense of this data to the extent that the business can make decisions, leveraging on this data? Now, to help us understand that, I would like to invite Rachel to touch on Wale's insights and what he made in terms of cleaning and data. Now, Rachel, can you help us understand how can we use BI tools or any other decision-making or data rendition platforms, how can we use this BI or rather decision platform to make decisions and improve an overall enterprise performance, looking at MIS? Thank you. Rachel.
Thank you very much, Chidozie, and a good word done to the speakers before me. How can we use BI tools to deliver the insights that Wale spoke to? First, let me say, because in one of my past lives, I used to sell BI solutions. So, and all right. So the thing is this: every organization needs insight, no matter how small or big you are. And especially in this era where customer experience is everything. And organizations are having to, there's a pressure to know their customers, know what they are doing, where they want to be served, know the products and services that the customers prefer above others. And internally within the organization, there are so many needs for different type of data. The business owners, of course, we want to know which of the channels is the most suitable for what segment of the customers. There's need to segment the customers. There's need to know their spending patterns. There's need to know their preferences. And there's also the need to know for efficiency purposes, what kind of combination of products and channels and people we must put together to ensure that maximum delivery is done, maximum returns are realized. And for them to be able to do it, this data is sitting in different systems. All right, so there's a need to extract the data, just like I think something that Wale spoke to. Extract the data, harness them, clean them, and make sure they are rendered in a way that they can provide meaningful insights to the different business drivers and business owners. And so BI tools come in readily for that. Any BI tool that is what is Onion, we have the capability to do extraction. All right, you must be able to extract data from these multiple sources. And you must be able to do it in such a way that you can synthesize the data in a manner that the people who are viewing the insight, they can act on it immediately, because there's something about, we're moving away from ordinary report generation to actionable insights. So there's a synthesization that must happen. So the BI tool must be able to do that synthesis, synthesize the data. And to some extent, there must be some mining capabilities so that the real things can jump out at business owners. If, for instance, we have category of customers that seems to, maybe there's an age group that seems to prefer a particular part of our services, that insight must jump out immediately. All right, we don't have to wait through pages and pages of report before we come to that realization that people within a certain group actually prefer to be served in this way and with this product. So the BI tool, like I said, any BI tool that is what is Onion must have that capability. It must also be able to personalize data. All right, the needs of the CTO, CEO is different from the needs of the line managers. The needs of those people are different from what the compliance team needs, is different from what the finance team needs. The BI tool must also have the capability where you can render to different parts of the business the kind of insight that they need to get. And your BI tool, of course, must then have that presentation layer where people can take a look at the report and instantly they know what they are doing, and they don't need to go to an academy to learn how to use the tool. So the presentation capability of the BI tool is also important. All in all, BI tools provide these capabilities and they help to, in summary, all right, be able to extract data from multiple sources, work with that data and present it in a manner that people who are using the reports can get the insight that they need to make decisions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Reza. That was very, very insightful. So one of the things that we can take away is that BI tools in itself cannot function without that data, without data. So they help aggregate this data and we use it. They have predefined measures that can actually allow anybody looking at it, that it will extend that it's idiot proof, that anybody looking at it can actually, pick up information, insights from it without having to make additional, without any technical skill, so to say. Now, with all that has been said today, one of the things that is very clear is that these things that we have all discussed, starting with Victor, understanding what MIS is, and going to Wale, explaining how you need to streamline data, what are the things you need to do, the integrity of the data, coming into a BI tool, plugging it into this data to provide you insight. These things, from what we have heard, are not simple. They are really complex and takes a lot of effort to achieve. So it might seem very simplistic in the sense of saying it. So, but I want to believe that we can actually learn more from that. And I want to invite Bimbo to help us navigate the implementation of these things that are being discussed. Looking at MIS and BI, that what are the common challenges that organizations may encounter regarding, the data that we have talked about, regarding the people, the security around this, and how can this be addressed, within an organization that is looking to optimize their performance. Thank you, Bimbo.
Thank you very much, Chidozie. Thank you, our audience this morning, and I also want to appreciate the various speakers that have spoken to different segments of this excellently. Now, this BI, as desirable as it is not without its challenges. I'll just mention a few of them, maybe like 4. One of them is the data quality issues. There's an age-long saying in computing, jargon in, jargon out. Whether you believe God or not, if you feed in wrong data into your system, what you will get is a wrong output. If you know how to speak in tongues from today to tomorrow, what you will get will be wrong output. So for example, you want to do a demographic analysis of your performance results, or you want to see the contribution of different age, different sex to your business results. And these information are not, these data are not captured at all or not correctly captured. Maybe you want to put mail and you don't have a system that forces you to do it consistently in a consistent manner. Somebody can type mail, somebody can type M. When you want to analyze this data, you will come up with myriads of problems. Maybe you want to see which geography is your business coming from, and you have not properly captured data about street names, about local government, about states, about region, and you have not ensured that every customer you have in the system have these data elements consistently and correctly captured. You will run into problems when it comes to analysis. In order to solve this particular problem, implementing data quality management system can really help solve that problem. Okay, so especially for the existing data that already exists, you can pass it through the process, as several speakers have actually alluded to that in their contributions, but it's through the process of data cleansing, ensuring that every data element that are required are in correct form, are available across the population of data that you are analyzing. So data quality management can help you to achieve that, to solve that problem. But for future and on an ongoing basis, implementing effective data governance would also be very, very key. For example, yeah, even if you clean your data today, if you don't set up rules of engagement, if you don't set up standards, if you don't define interfaces that force people to apply all the needed data elements, which is something that data governance is speaking today. But every day you run, you are creating new problems. So data governance environment will help to ensure that everybody, consistently feed data into system in correct manner and in adequate data element. So, and training and retraining of people and communicating policies. For example, you want to do customer profitability, but when you are posting your data into the system, especially all those things that are done not through the system interface, but via journal postings, you do not capture the data element that enable you to analyze that data and segregate it and allocate it to a customer. You will not be able to come up with effective customer profitability reporting. So these are some of the problems that comes into play when we're talking about business intelligence. Another problem that I can see there has to do with data integration problems. Oftentimes, organizations are in a multiple systems environment, especially most of the mega banks that we have. Even a small organization could be in a multiple application environment. You have your core system, and then you have myriads of many other systems that are solving specific problems. A typical bank will be having about 80 to 100 different solutions doing different things. And no matter your size, even if you are a small business, it's possible you have your core system, you have HR, you have another thing managing your point of sales, you have this. In the process of integrating these various systems to the core, if that process is not well defined, what you will discover is that the data elements that are passed to the core, which you are looking at when you are talking about data analysis, might not be consistent with your management information objectives. Okay, so how do we solve this? You can solve it in two ways. Number one, solving the current issues, the current problem you have. You have no choice than to go to the source system and get all the details that you need and reconcile them to what was passed to the core and have your correct output. But solving that on a continual and ongoing basis, the ultimate game in that environment is to sit down and analyze your MIS objectives, the data elements that must be fed into your core system, okay? And all of these must be defined through what we call this application programming interface, API. So all of the data elements that are critical for data analysis must be passed through the API into your core system. Otherwise, every time you need to analyze, you will not have a single source of the truth. You still have to, go to disparate system and be accessing different data elements from different sources. The last one that we quickly talk about because of time is the people issues. People issues ranging from user adoption issues. Oftentimes users don't love changes at all. And especially in this realm, when we are talking about MIS, part of the objective will be to appraise the people themselves, how they are performing, and the various other business objects. You can be rest assured that people will attack the integrity of that system. Okay, so how do we, or maybe even say that this system is not correct or whatever, you will not know what exactly is behind their argument. Their argument is that the truth is that their numbers are not looking good. But when they're in the business review meetings and they are being questioned, they begin to attack the integrity of the system. How can we deal with these issues? Number one, people themselves have to be trained and retrained to enable everyone see themselves as a critical part of this system to achieve credible information to manage the business better, and let them also see their benefits in it, how they can achieve better results when information, for example, are properly captured and when they play their part. So, and also implementing data governance, as I mentioned earlier, is very, very key. Enforcing everybody to do the right thing. And of course, institution of effective governance, risk, and control mechanism that ensures that everyone in the organization does the right thing and does it consistently. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Bimbo.
The challenges are limitless, but I know my time is limited.
Hopefully, we are going to have other series to also talk more around these challenges. Thank you, Bimbo. So we well articulated talking about mastering of data, both from the source to the processing of the data, and also the change management issues around this. These are some of the challenges. Now, we've talked about data. So I would like to, I want to get to see what if we can actually get a view, we can get an appreciative view of what some of these outputs and this process will entail, from maybe from a system perspective. But before we get to that, I would like to invite Victor and Wale, who are neck deep into these things, who have busted knuckles and sweat blood, to make sure to generate performance report. I would like to quickly one from Victor, one from Wale. Given for a business to thrive, what are the metrics you think that, look, without this metric, growth might be, if you are not monitoring this metric, growth might be a challenge for you, or expansion. Maybe you might touch on one, maybe expansion, one person might talk on growth. So I would really like to hear from you, just quick one from you, one from Victor, so that we can, the audience can understand that these are some of these KPIs are really what helps when we see organizations. These kind of measures are what is telling organizations that are growing and expanding. These are the kind of metrics that they are looking at. So quickly, one from Victor, one from Wale. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Chidozie. Let me go first before Wale. So thanks once again, and thanks to everybody. When I spoke about MIS, I spoke about a whole lot of things, including policies, protocols, practices, and everything. And all we'll be speaking to, all speak to either the policies we have in place, or the protocols we have in place, or the practices that guide everything. Because if you set up a structure that is supposed to work and the person that is doing the posting does something wrongly, the output will be meaningless, regardless of what you have put in place. But beyond that, as an organization, there are several ways you can position yourself to be able to deliver on your strategy. And that's a function of the performance management approach you have decided to adopt. For example, an organization can decide to measure its performance from a balanced scorecard approach. If an organization decides to measure itself from a balanced scorecard approach, it will look at it from a customer perspective, it will look at it from a financial perspective, it will look at it from an internal perspective, it will also look at it from a learning and growth perspective. And for each of those perspectives, it will define KPIs or performance measures that it will utilize to see how the organization is progressing, either relative to the internal benchmarks you have set for yourself, or relative to external benchmarks, or relative to the market positioning you want to achieve. For example, you are an organization who is a financial organization, and you know profitability is key, and it's a key performance measure that you can use to benchmark yourself against your budget, benchmark yourself against your peers. You can, from a financial perspective, set up a KPI that measures profitability. Now, to be able to bring life that profitability, you begin to dimension ways to define or measure that profitability. You can measure that profitability at the corporate level. You can measure that profitability at the business unit level. Even when you're measuring profitability at the business unit level, you have to dimension it. Should I look at it from a geographical standpoint? It then means I'm looking at what is the North doing in terms of profitability versus what the South is doing in terms of profitability, and the case might be. I can decide to dimension that profitability by segment. I have a commercial banking segment. I want to see what commercial banking is doing and how they are contributing to the overall performance of the organization. I want to see what the retail business is doing and how they are contributing to the overall profitability of the organization. I can decide to take it beyond segments and also look at it at the product level. I sell STEM products to customers. I want to be able to see the contribution of each product to the overall profitability of that organization.
Okay.
Beyond looking at it even from a product standpoint, I can even get to a level that I begin to look at it at individual customer level. And it's okay, this customer buys XYZ products. I want to be able to see the profitability contribution of each of those customers. So there are 1001 dimensions you can leverage on to determine or drive the profitability of an organization, given the strategic positioning and the outlook you have done for yourself. And unfortunately, it might be very difficult for you as an organization to implement these 1001 dimensions if the fundamentals are faulty. And the fundamentals goes back to what we spoke about, the MIS infrastructure you have, the BI infrastructure you have, and how you have been able to marry the two capabilities. Because as the capabilities are working, you can now begin to fine-tune your protocols to be able to say today, what is my cost allocation principles to products, to business units, and all whatnot. It can change. The cost allocation principles, for example, can change. Revenue attribution principles can change. But if you have an MIS infrastructure or a BI tool that is not scalable, that is not dynamic, that is not adaptive, even when you have changed your protocol, you may find it very difficult to implement because the system cannot enable you deliver what you want to deliver or what the business wants or what the product owners want. Therefore, to be able to give life to your strategy and execute all the KPIs, all the performance measures you have defined, everything working together must be in alignment. Thank you.
Awesome, Victor. So, Victor, just the summary: profitability, product profitability, business strategic business profitability, customer profitability are all critical to drive, performance and measure for growth. So, Wale, can you add to what Victor has said? What metric can we leverage on to, that is critical for growth for any enterprise?
Victor has said, Victor is the master. He has said a lot. I think he has addressed it from the profitability side of things. I would look at the other aspect, which is the cost optimization part of it. A critical KPI for most organizations, well, for financial services, cost to income ratio, right? And that's when you start talking about things around how do you optimize your cost, not necessarily reducing your cost. How do you optimize your cost? That's getting value for your spend. And I'm going to give you some very practical examples on how you can do that. Really, how you can do that, and what most organizations do generally. Now, this BI MIS is so critical, right? In terms of when you want to segment your customer. I guess Rachel spoke to it. And why do you need to segment your customers? You need to segment your customer for several reasons, right? You know, you spend money. A lot of organizations, whether financial, non-financial, have huge budgets for marketing, right? So if you want to spend, right, on marketing, you have to spend wisely. Spending wisely also means that you have to do targeted marketing. So you have to basically use your MIS and BIS to understand your customers, your preferences, their behavior, right? And use one or several characters to categorize your customers into buckets. If you have categorized your customers into buckets, rather than sending 1 million SMS or 2,000 or 2 million emails, you focus your marketing, right, at that specific segment that you intend to reach, right? And if you do that in that way, you have more or less optimized your spend. That's a practical thing that we do and most organizations have been doing now. So what other things can we, if you also look at manufacturing, right? There's something you call holding costs. By integrating your BI system, your MIS system into various systems, whether it's your inventory management system, whether it's your procurement system, whether it's your ERP, right? You quickly from your BI, you can quickly know, oh, I'm getting low on this stock item. I'm getting low. So how do I quickly, engage my supplier? How do I quickly engage, right, my whoever supplies all over the world to ensure that I get these goods in time? You know what happens to stock, right? Is a crisis. It means that anything you see at whatever price, you jump on it because you need to meet the earnings, right, or the request of your customers. The worst that can ever happen to an organization, right, is to say that, oh, I'm out of stock. Then you begin to lose credibility. Now, having that MIS system ensures that you manage your stock holding cost. Managing that stock holding cost, basically saying that if I don't have raw materials, right, that can help me produce and meet my customers, I will have to go out at the exorbitant rates to acquire raw materials and all that. So it's so critical, and it's also a critical part of your optimization process. Now let's look at fraud detection. With MI systems, BI systems, you monitor. Once you integrated your system into various platforms, you monitor different transaction spends, and all that. I guess if you have fraud experts or people who are in compliance, they will tell you, right? With these things, right, you can train your model, train your system to identify fraudulent transaction patterns. It's better to nip fraudulent transaction pattern, nip something in the bud before it actually happens. You're able to do that using these systems. You're optimizing your cost. Now you also have organizations, multinational organizations who locate branches. Let's say financial institution, locate branches. I'm sure you have multiple hundreds of branches all over the place. Now, in citing branches, you do what you call feasibility studies, cost benefit analysis. The MIS system is actually very critical. Where do I cite my branch? If that means that having a good BI system, right, or MIS system, it help you collect information, data about historical performance of branches in that location, right? You can get data around, the demography of situation. You can use your BI system to estimate footfalls. What are the likely number of footfalls I expect to see in my branch? I can't just go and cite a branch in location where the return at the end of the day will not cover my cost. Having a solid MIS and BI system will help you, right, in generating this information. And if this is insights that will speak to you in taking that very critical decision. There are several There's no way, everywhere in the organization where you monitor performance, where you need to spend money, there's everywhere where you actually need this BI system to actually optimize your cost and getting value for every naira or every cent you spend within the organization. Even when you're even, shortlisting vendors, you want to know, okay, which vendors should I take and all that. Historical performance of how vendors have delivered. You ask a vendor to deliver something to you in 6 weeks, you have agreed, he delivers in 8 weeks and all that. If you have that data that speaks to your vendor performance, it helps you in evaluating or taking a decision as to which vendor I should actually engage. And if you do that, engaging a vendor that will disappoint you, that will not help you meet your yearnings or your requests from your customers and make you lose revenue. You definitely, from your system, this is not the kind of vendor I want. This is not the kind of vendor I should be engaging for my business. So I'll just rest it. There are several examples, right? How you can use your BI system to drive cost optimization. And of course, having your cost to income ratio within tolerable limits. So I'll just stop here for now. Thank you.
Very, very, very good, great points. Thank you, Wale. Efficiency ratio is one of the key things, and there's a point that you pointed out very well, that fraud is also a factor in optimizing costs. If you don't put that in check, you are going to be running costs if you don't put that in check. So thank you. So, well, I want us to, we're running out of time. I would like the audience to give us, a couple of minutes grace, 10 to 15 minutes more, so that we can round up, because we didn't start on time. So before we take questions, many of these things that have been spoken here, we've looked at it from, these are thought leaders, these are people who have practical experience and doing this, and they don't do these things manually. So I want to invite Debo Wale to help us get a sense of how can these things be automated, looking at from the data of pulling this data, streamlining it. How can these things be automated? That from a solution perspective, what can we see? Just something that we can pick. I know that time might not permit us, but if you can, in the next 5 minutes, can tell us what we can use to achieve this kind of things, and what are the practical tools that and how can it be done from a system perspective, we will really go a long way. So I would like Debo to join us in the next 5 minutes. So once that, we'll take questions, and hopefully we'll conclude with that. Thank you. Debo, please, can you?
Thank you very much, Chidozie. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so thank you all to all the speakers. From a solutions standpoint, I'll be sharing my screen shortly so that you can also look at that. So, all right, so can you see my screen?
Yes, please go ahead.
All right, so yeah, so the first thing from the solutions perspective is the data collection. A lot has been said. Okay, so integrating into collection of data from different sources and centralization of this data so that you have a single source of truth. So, for example, we provide a platform, okay, where you can extract, all this data that we have here. During the implementation, we would work to ensure we have defined the data sets, okay, product, account, customer, even expenses, transaction, and all that, which you can actually be able to just extract, just by a click of button, and then you have your numbers. Is simple as that. Okay, so so once this data has been collected and cleansed, another thing that we also do from solutions perspective is processing of this data elements. So at this point, different processes are applied. I mean, the first speaker mentioned something about policies, processes, procedure, and all that. So at this point, every organization have processes, that they have defined, goals and target and all of that. So we then apply all these processes to the extracted data. Maybe, for example, you have some things around cost allocation, okay, sharing of cost from the cost center to the profit center. So we apply all these rules during the processing, maybe management tree, or maybe actually called relationship management tree, or even maybe transfer price. Okay, so all these actually there is a platform which you provide, which, all of these are actually done at this point. So, and once the data has been processed at this point, what we try to do is to, we then, the next level will be to visualize the data, because I mean, that's one of the benefits of also having a working BI and MIS solution. So let me share my screen on that so that we can also see. Just a moment. All right, so on the visualization.
So while Debo is sorry, Debo, please, we are sorry. While Debo is on it, please, you can share your questions on the Q&A tab. So once Debo is going, we can let the speakers respond to your questions. We may not be able to take all the questions, but as much as we can. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The last level or last layer, which is on the visualization. Okay, so this is from the standpoint of scorecard, balance scorecard. I think one of the speakers also mentioned something on that. So now, looking at these visuals, for example, you have some financial metrics, maybe, for example, the cost of fund. Okay, so the cost of fund is actually a financial measure. So now, you have those measures now generated using the data that has been processed. Okay, so for cost of fund, for example, is looking at interest expense on deposit and borrowing. Okay, so for this measure, what you want to achieve is to lower the cost of fund. Okay, and then that can allow the bank to offer more competitive loan rates, thereby stimulating lending activity. Or maybe when you move on to NPL ratio. NPL, for example, has to do with non-performing loans. Okay, so it has to do with the ratio of the non-performing loans to the total gross loan. Okay, so what is the impact? You might be targeting high NPLs. You might be targeting low NPLs, because when NPL is high, it can negatively impact profitability and asset quality, potentially affecting the bank stability. So that is why you have these two elements. You can see that they are like a color code, they are in negative. So meaning that the objective is to lower the cost of the fund, and also lower the non-performing ratio. Okay, so while on the other hand, you have the loans to deposit ratio, which is also another metrics, another measure to consider. So for loan to deposit ratio, that has to do with ratio of total loan to total customer deposits. So higher ratio can lead to increased profitability. Okay, but when you have excessively high ratio, that might also indicate higher liquidity risk. Okay, so and the last one, which has to do with the yield on assets. Okay, so yield on assets is the bank interest income to any asset. So for example, a higher yield on assets indicates the company is generating more earnings from its assets. Okay, so which is a positive sign for investors, and stakeholders. So what you notice again is the first two measures, deliberately ratios that you have here. They are the ones that focus more on cost reduction. Okay, you want to, as much as possible, reduce the cost of fund. One of the speakers, Wale, mentioned something about the strategy in terms of reducing cost. Okay, you want to reduce the NPL ratio. While on the other hand, in the course of the webinar, another speaker, Victor, mentioned that you need to increase profitability. So you can also increase the loan to deposit ratio. You should have a target that should be high for that, and as well the yield on any asset. But beyond this ratio, again, because the way this thing is targeted is for the visual is for balance scorecard. So there are different perspectives, okay, which has also been discussed in the course of presentation. So for example, you have You have the product perspective. Okay, you have the internal, or maybe you call it people. Okay, you have the financial perspective, which is the one I've been talking about when picking some ratios. I think Wale also mentioned cost to income ratio, which is very germane. Or maybe you are looking at the operational efficiency and all that. So, or maybe from customers' perspective. So let's move on to talk about other ones. So, for example, on customers' perspective, you might want to drive dormant accounts, maybe in terms of reactivation. So the focus will be you can assign a weight and set a target, okay, to increase the number of dormant accounts reactivated. That is coming from a customer's perspective. Or you might be interested in, for example, you have a campaign and you want to increase new accounts that are open. Okay, so that might also be a strategy. Okay, and you set a target for that so that the accounts can be increased. So you assign a weight, set a target, and you have the actual. Or for example, quarantine accounts, which are accounts with issues around documentation. Of course, the focus will be to have as much as possible, if possible, a zero, quarantine account. It's better for regulatory issues so that the bank does not have to go through issues or have to settle regulator because of quarantine issues. I mean, regulatory issues. So in that case, this will be a downward target because you want to reduce it, to possibly zero. So that is speaking to customers' perspective. So let me move on to product perspective. Okay, so for product perspective, you might want to, for example, because what we have also seen is that when you drive digital adoption, at the end of the day, customers are more happy. Okay, so what you might want to do is maybe, for example, on internet banking, you want to set a KPI, okay, to increase the number of internet banking accounts, internet banking profile setup in the bank. Okay, so you have it for also mobile banking activation, and as well the USSD active. So this is like a positive thing where you want to increase, you want to increase the digital adoption, be it USSD, be it mobile banking, be it internet banking. So all of these you can actually also set KPIs, with respect to your product. Or better still, you are looking at people, or maybe you call it internal perspective. Okay, so I have some KPIs defined here, but one of it is also training. So training can also be a KPI, and you have quality of work. You want people to focus more. You want to derive more value internally. Okay, so you can set a target, assign a weight, maybe even increase the weight above others. That way you can drive the quality of work in terms of people, in terms of maybe even turnaround time in attending to customers. Okay, so these are some things that can help in customer satisfaction to drive it. Or maybe, for example, on regulatory compliance, you want to ensure that it is, that is actually strictly adhered to. Okay, so you can also put that in your set a KPI for regulatory compliance, and also assign a weight and target to effectively drive that people are complying to all of this. Or maybe timely delivery. There are multiple projects going on within the bank. You have a project that ordinarily, I mean, in the course of the webinar, someone mentioned something like you have a project, maybe Wale, 6 months. You want to ensure you finish it in 3 months. So you can set target deliberately to 3 months, even though it will take longer time, and challenge people to to work on that. And at the end of the day, you are able to measure the actual against the target, or go back to readjust whatever KPI that has been set. Okay, so so the good thing about it is that whichever way, if you are viewing the customer's perspective, or you are viewing from the product or from the financial, you can actually see and drive your performance, or maybe all together, which is why you have different perspective. So right here you have the actual performance. So this actual performance is actually a score. Okay, is the score relating to maybe the product, the people, the financial, or the customer all together. That is the score. Okay, and just a moment. Let me stop sharing. Okay. Okay, so now, and on the left side, you have a filter for SBU. So in the course of the webinar, you also have the idea that you can see, because you have the single sort of truth for the data. So you can then dimension, okay, all this information with respect to a particular SBU, maybe sales, okay, or maybe, for example, you now have a level somewhere down here where you put region, where you put division, where you put branch, where you put group. So beyond what we are seeing now, you can also dimension it. For these sales now, you have a button down here. You select, okay, these sales, I want to see it for this region, for Southwest. I want to see this from Northwest, and so on. Or maybe I want to see it from different business segments. Okay, maybe oil and gas and so on. So and as you are doing all of that, you have also key insights. And the good thing is that is daily. So you can actually also select different dates and also change all of this and be able to see the impact even as you move on. So essentially, what we have done is to our platform. We have been able to provide a platform that not only manages data from MIS and BI from the collection. So you have the collection, data collection, you have the processing, and you also have the visualization. And the good thing also is that beyond visualizing, maybe for example, you have a descriptive data. In one of the speakers, Wale was emphasizing on prediction. So the good thing is that you must have descriptive. You have, based on the historical data that you have generated, you can then predict, and make prediction. I mean, like Wale said, you want to open a new branch. So you already have a visual that is showing profitability of similar branch in that location. So you can then leverage on that and other parameters. Okay, then generate prediction. Okay, should I, for example, open a branch here and all that. So I think because of time, I would like to stop here in terms of my own contribution. Thank you.
Well done, Debo. Thank you very much. Thank you. I would just like to point out that I know there's quite a lot to display. So if there are any more information on how this can be done, what Debo is actually showing us is actually in production in more than 70 organizations as we speak today, and which they are leveraging on to drive their strategy and structure for growth. So it's something that we can reach out to us and we can go further and have a much more audience to see how performance management can be automated, incorporating everything that has been said here today. Now, quickly, I have a question. Debo, before you go, there's a question from Lamin, and he's asking that the question he says, system integration interface between different applications is always an issue in data quality due to different input level. How can an organization overcome this issue? I think that falls directly on your call. I would like you to take that question. Thank you. So please, we are open more questions, please. We can take 2 or 3 more questions and we'll round up. Thank you. So Debo, please, can you? All right,
thank you, Chidozie. When I started the presentation, I actually mentioned something on data collection. So that is the starting point. So how that can be resolved is such that we are not just loading data. Okay, so the process of loading data that we adopt, for example, is ETL. Okay, so what we do is to adopt ETL. So by ETL means that you are not just extracting, but you are transforming. Okay, so we have different data sources. Of course, one of the issues that or the optimization, where optimization coming here is integration to different sources and centralizing it. So you are transforming those data, as the way they are in different, so bringing them together in a consumable format so that they can sit together as though they are one. I mean, maintaining a single source of truth. So that process is called extraction, loading, ETL, extract, transform, and load. So that transformation process actually speaks to the question. You transform it, and at that point, you deal with some issues around data. Even part of it might also be data cleansing. Just that there are some certain data that might go beyond cleansing, which is the fundamental bit that my GMD spoke to, because it's garbage in, garbage out. But then the peculiar issues relating to different data sources, you would have dealt with it at the point of transforming the data so that you now have a single source of truth, to get your report that is more accurate, less prone to error, and you can get, different insightful visuals to drive your growth, to drive your profitability and all that. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. So if I hear you correctly, what you're simply saying is that this each data pipeline can actually have its own unique rules before it's being centralized so that they can all marry correctly, right? So that's what you're saying. So
so that data can be together. So there can be different rules, built into the transformation for each data, to ensure that you have a good data at the end of the day, centralized, without issues.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So I have another question. This is coming from it's coming from Saeed Ideal. And I'll let because Rachel mentioned that she used to sell BI solutions, at some point before she became the CIO. So it's a good progress. So I'll like the question goes that he wants to know, how he can learn more about BI. Like what kind of certification and skills do you know to learn more about BI? I don't know if Rachel can help us with that. Being that it's something that a process that she has gone through. Hello, Rachel. So Said wants to know what it will take to learn more about BI and actually develop skill sets and certifications around that. Hello, Rachel.
Yes, she does. Sorry, just a minute. I was distracted. Apologies. What is the question, please?
So the question is that he wants to know more about business intelligence. So I felt coming from you that these were quite some of your, as part of your certifications and all that needs for him to develop his skill around business intelligence. If you can,
okay.
Thank you.
All right. So certifications on business intelligence. There's an institute. I think that's still there. TDW. Data Warehouse Institute or something. Yeah. They have quite a number of certifications in that area. That is one. And I think because they are agnostic, they are application agnostic, their certifications can actually be more acceptable than if you go to specific product certifications. Okay, I'll get the link and put it here for you.
Okay.
Awesome. I also know that for BI OEMs, they have some certification for their product line. Microsoft has BI tracks and they have certifications. Business objects of fold, now SAP used to have, I don't know whether they still have, but the ones that are very relevant, I think, is this TDWI. Let me get the link and drop in the chat box.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Rachel. Do we have...
Sorry, can I add to what Rachel
Okay, please said? Go ahead, Victor. Thank you very much.
It's also, the discussions we have had this afternoon is extremely broad and not narrow. It's not narrow. So it depends on where you are coming in. You are looking at it from that perspective. For example, if you want to drive implementation of BI solutions across institutions, then project management skills and all whatnot come into play. So that becomes a requirement that you may want to develop skills on. That's one area. Understanding customer needs, being able to translate those needs into solutions, into requirements, will require you to have some level of appreciable level of skills in business analysis. Then the CBAB, the PMIs of this world can help you. So by the time you move from that area, you want to be playing with data itself. Then some certifications in data analytics and whatnot can help you. If you want to be fully involved in the development, in the day-to-day development of the programs, or giving life to what everybody has articulated, some other skills will also come in, and the certifications will come in. So it's a function of where you want to take it from. But there are 1,001 opportunities and skills and certifications that are available, but dependent on which area you want to come in, or which area you want to become an expert or improve your expertise on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Victor. Really, thank you. That's very good point. So it's not tied to one area. So you need to, think about where your strengths lie and continue to build around those areas where it comes to business intelligence and other data management solutions. So I think we've exceeded our time. So I don't know if there are any other questions, but in the absence of that, I want to use the opportunity to thank Victor, to thank Rachel, Debo, Wale, and most especially GMD of FinTrak for their time today to engage in this subject, because it's we've been able to establish that it is critical for any organization to drive growth or to expand, particularly in given the situations we have in the economy where we have high cost of inflation and everything. Cost is a very good thing to monitor and optimize. So also to optimize profitability. So it's been a very learning time, and I want to thank the speakers for their time today. They could have been anywhere, but they were here today. They are really very busy people who are overseeing very major organizations, and I thank them for sparing time to come here today to join us for this session. Hopefully, we might have them again on our future series on FinTrak digital transformation webinars. So thank you, and I also want to thank the attendees too. This could have been possible without you. You guys spent your time to listen to us, and I hope that you have learned something from this session, and look forward to having you to join and be part of our future digital transformation series. So to conclude, we've talked a lot about optimizing enterprise performance and MIS, and with the effort that goes into producing performance reports. It's not easy. It requires a lot of resources. It requires a lot of skill sets, and which all our speakers have touched on. So it's not an easy program to undertake alone. So it requires partners and people who have a strong understanding of this and the skill set within that space. And I would like to take this moment to let you know that even our organizations in Nigeria, most of all the banks you have today have been able to transform their performance management, leveraging one of our flagship solutions, which is the FinTrak Enterprise Performance Management System, and is a trusted and proven tool that has helped organizations grow, expand, and be very strategic in their decision making and across board, and even expanding into other African countries. So from this tool, everything that the speakers have spoken, whether you are managing your MIS framework, whether you're using balanced scorecard or you're using cost-oriented framework, whatever you are using, the system encompasses all these frameworks. At the same time, in a single system, your data extraction tool is within the system that the data that you need to do can be automatically extracted and aggregated into a single platform. In the same tool, again, you are able to structure and define KPIs that you are able to make informed decisions looking at a BI tool, an integrated BI tool, which is part of this solution. So all that has been discussed so far here, whether we're talking about the framework, we're talking about the data, we're talking about the business intelligence, all these things that encompass into a single solution with the FinTrak solution suite, which Debo has touched on. And again, we want to invite you to take this opportunity to reach out to us, and we can have a much more detailed fora to see how this thing will empower you to make decisions in real time that are accurate, are actionable, and allowing you to drive your costs down and increase your profitability. So if you're looking at this opportunity, we're inviting you. You can send a message to this chat, or you can also send us to our website at FinTrakSoftware.com for us to book a demo if you so choose. So thank you all for this presentation. I would like to take this as a concluding point, and thank everyone again for your time, and goodbye. Thank you, everyone. So bye.
Thank you, moderator.
Goodbye.
Thank you, all our attendees.
Bye.
Thank you, all the speakers. Thank you so much, Victor, Rachel.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.